Yeah, so I think some goals that we had with it were for it to become a content flywheel, right? For it to like fuel itself and not only pay for itself, but but really be like an acquisition channel and a form of content. Because we had a newsletter at that time, we had a blog, and so this was just kind of another format of content. And I'll speak sometimes to how sometimes people just need to see it in a different way. Like they just need to consume the content in a different format. And so if we were able to have assets in those different formats in, audio, video, long form, short form, then we'd have like more at bats for people to know what we do, consume the content, and potentially convert. And so for me, like being in charge of social, I selfishly like wanted it to kind of fuel the organic social play. But I was also excited to use organic social to test the paid channels as well. And felt like there was a lot of like opportunity there that I didn't see other people doing of repurposing this type of content, which I felt like was really valuable as an ad. Like I saw a lot of ads that looked like ads, right? Or that were ads that weren't content. And so I liked the idea of, I think just in general, like our team liked the idea of being able to have this be a repeatable play. And so ultimately the goal is obviously to drive conversions. And so what I liked about this play was it helped us do two things, like the long-term content strategy and marketing strategy of that comes with a webinar and that comes with like slowly building a community, but then also to help that fuel social. And then I think eventually talking about using that in the newsletter or in like long form content, like knowing that was a possibility. But on the short term, being able to use it for ads and be able to get kind of like that instant gratification and instant revenue that came from that. And so that's what I mean about like it fueling itself in the short term, but also it making sense for kind of just like a long form, like less pressure like on the content side of things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things we always talk about with clients is the more you can make your content engine become sort of as part of your everyday workflow, the better off you're going to be, right? Because at the end of the day, you need those subject matter experts. They're either going to be customers or they're going to be internal. They don't have time. They don't want to spend the time, etc. You got to make it easy for them to take part in this content creation game. So yeah, I think that makes total sense. The other thing I like what you said is, it's an ad that didn't really look like an ad. I think that's important. I mean, I can't remember who had the quote or who said it or whatever, but it's, the best advertising is the ones that doesn't actually look like advertising. I think you're seeing that more and more these days. You've definitely has been happening in the B2C world for a while, but you're seeing a little bit more on the B2B side where people are trying non-traditional things with whatever formats they're doing, which I think is great.
Yeah. And I would say in general, like some of the more content focused like ads like tended to do pretty well. And so I guess what I mean by that is it could be this play of taking a clip from a video from especially if it's from an influencer or an expert. So for instance, we had like Nick Sharma on, who's huge in like the D2C world. And in fact, like if you Google D2C guy, he's the first one to come up. And so that was really helpful in driving attendance to that. And it did really well as an ad. But then another guy who we didn't get as much attendance from, but had a lot to say and talk about on like the growth marketing front, which was a really hot topic for us, and then just a really hot topic in general. His ads actually like performed the best. And so sometimes it's the name, obviously like the brand recognition of like a big name for the webinar, like that's helpful. That's helpful for especially getting attendees, and it's helpful for getting that credibility in the ads. But it still was interesting that, at least in this case, the content and like the relevancy to the audience is still number one, like even if you don't have that huge name, because the best performing ads was probably like the least recognized or like, not, I wouldn't say like popular, but yeah, least recognized name like out of the bunch.